New 2023 Kia Sportage courtesy of Fred Bean's Kia in Mechanicsburg, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. So we are in this one today because this has been completely redesigned for the 2023 model year. It's a very unique look, very nice exterior design. I love the exterior remodel because I think it looks dang good. But anyways, in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so as you can imagine, there are a few different trim levels available for the 2023 Sportage. First one being the LX, being the one we have today, actually starting at $27,205. Then there is the EX for $29,205. X line for $32,005, and then the SX for $32,705. And by the way, that X line comes standard with all-wheel drive. All those other prices were standard with front-wheel drive, but you can add all-wheel drive for an additional $1,800 then if you wanted to. But powering the beast is going to be a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated inline four-cylinder, putting out 187 horsepower, 178 pound-feet of torque, again sent to front wheels or all wheels through an 8-speed automatic. MPG numbers are going to come in at approximately 22 in the city, 30 on the highway for the front wheel drive, 22 city, 28 then on the highway for the all-wheel drive, taking regular unleaded fuel. One more thing I wanted to note though, before we do any kind of fun acceleration test, is there is going to be both hybrid and plug-in hybrid options available later down the line, later this year actually, and that's going to be powered by a 1.6 liter turbo four-cylinder with an electric motor, putting out approximately 226 horsepower. But that model is not out yet, so we're not going to be reviewing that one today. So I did just want to make note of that in case you wanted to hold out for 40 miles per gallon in that one. But now, having mentioned all of that, there is actually a drive mode circular dial directly behind the shifter that's going to give you normal, sport, smart, and snow, adjusting things like the shift points, the throttle response, and the steering sensitivity quite substantially as well. So now, having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find a straightaway. Let's put the acceleration here to the test, and let's see how quickly we can get our new 2023 Kia Sportage here up to speed. All right, in 3, 2, 1, go. It's not bad. Definitely not the quickest thing in the world, but you're not going to have any issues merging onto the highway either. And this sport mode definitely helps out. You can immediately tell the difference. It's holding the RPMs at a much higher level when you have it in that sport mode. So if you do have to merge onto the highway, just flick into the sport mode real quick and you're not going to have any issues there. Another cool thing, I don't think I even mentioned it, is the gauges change colors when you put it in sport mode as well to red. So didn't mention that before, so I wanted to mention that too. And not only that, these headrests are super comfortable. A lot of times when you hit the gas, your head goes back into the headrest, and these are some of the most comfortable headrests, even with this being a base model of the Sportage. You don't usually get that in base models. You usually get these hard leatherette kind of headrests, but these are nice. I really like it. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. So as expected, you will find four-wheel ventilated disc brakes coming standard on the Sportage. As far as that braking feel goes, it's actually really nice. It's got a firm feel to it. It didn't expect that. Typically with SUVs, you have a much softer braking feel, but this one feels perfect, quite honestly, especially for what it is. It's an excellent braking feel. I could definitely tell you that. As far as suspension and handling goes, you will get an independent strut type front suspension, in the back independent multi-link rear suspension. And as far as ride quality goes, as we were cruising down these back roads here, it's perfectly fine. Honestly, I've never had any real issues with Kia and Hyundai ride quality, so definitely soaking up the road imperfections quite nicely. As far as steering feel goes, it does adjust pretty substantially dependent upon the drive mode that you put it in. So I love that because it gives you something for everybody. So if you liked a heavier steering feel, put it in that sport driving mode and you're going to get that. If you wanted it to loosen up a little bit, put it in the comfort mode. But having said that, even in comfort mode, it still feels absolutely perfect. So steering feels 100% on point here in the Sportage. As far as cabin noise goes, when I was on the highway back there, you get a little bit. I mean, it's pretty much as expected. It's nothing too crazy, but there is a little bit of road noise that comes into the cabin, but it's nothing that would deter me from buying this. I could say that, so that's perfectly fine. As far as visibility goes, I could see 100%, move squirrel, I could see 100% perfectly fine out the back, so you're definitely not gonna have any issues there either. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, you guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our completely redesigned 2023 Kia Sportage. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new completely redesigned 2023 Kia Sportage. I love this redesigned look. This looks so much better, looks so futuristic, and it's like nothing else on the road right now. But anyways, I digress. Let's go ahead and start up front of the Sportage here. Gloss black front grille will come standard with silver accents. There is that new Kia logo on the front hood then as well. Down below, you will actually find some silver skid plates that come standard, and that's going to be for both the front and the back actually. To the sides, LED headlights do come standard across the board with LED daytime running lights. You get the automatic feature with that as well, along with automatic high beams then as well, coming standard for all trim levels. A lot of times that'll be an added feature that's optional on other manufacturers, but I love that Kia put them standard on all trim levels. It's definitely pretty nice. LED fog lights coming with the SX Prestige trim level and up, and again, loving the design of the front end. But that pretty much rounds out the front end of the Sportage here. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the side of this one. And so to start up top, roof rails do come standard on the X-Line trim level and up. Rear privacy glass is going to come on all trim levels. There is a silver beltline molding if you were to go with the LX or EX trim level, so we do indeed have that with us here today. But if you were to go with any of the other trim levels, you're actually going to get gloss black window surround, so a little bit of a differentiation there. Raised suspension coming with the X-Line and X Pro, so any trim level with an X in it essentially. Silver trim found on the lower portion of that side profile. It definitely looks nice. Body colored power adjustable side mirrors coming standard. They will be heated, coming standard for all trim levels across the board as well, with LED integrated turn signals if you were to go with the EX trim level and up. So I can't show that to you guys unfortunately, but floating roof line is found towards the back on that C pillar back there. Then take a look down at the wheel setup. It's going to differ pretty substantially amongst the trim levels here. 17-inch silver alloys for the LX, 18-inch machine finished alloys for the EX, 19-inch gloss black alloys for the X-Line, 18-inch matte gray alloys for the SX trim levels, and then 17-inch black alloys with BF Goodrich all-terrain tires, kind of the off-road tires there for the X Pro trim levels. So that about rounds out the side profile. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the back. All right, and so but now since we are around back of this one, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light all the way to the top. Just below that, rear window wiper, LED tail lights coming standard for all trim levels across the board. Gotta love that new style Kia logo back there as well. You do have a little bit of added silver trim on the rear bumper there as well, and just below it all, I think you guys know what we have to do next. As always, here is that exhaust clip. Alright, and so now since we are around to the back of the Sportage, when it comes to opening that rear tailgate, it is a power tailgate if you were to go with the X-Line trim level and up. As far as cargo capacity goes, once opened up, that's going to come in at 39.6 cubic feet behind that second row. If that was not enough space, that second row does fold down, bumping that up to 74.1 cubic feet. That is substantially more than the previous generation, so well done Kia for that. There is some cargo lighting back there, of course. There's a 12-volt power outlet. There's a rear cargo cover available, grocery bag hooks, and if you lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you will find a spare tire down there as well. But then making our way up to the rear legroom, that is coming in at 41.3 inches. Insanely impressive for rear legroom, even in an SUV. For reference, I'm even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in that second row there. Rear center armrest with cup holders does come standard. Rear ventilation then as well. And if you were to go with the EX trim level and up, you will also get rear USB charging ports back there then as well. But then making our way to the front seats, manually adjustable cloth seats coming with the LX. That's what we have today. EX trim level is going to add 10-way power driver's seat with 2-way power lumbar and heated front seats then as well for that EX trim level and up. Syntex upholstery coming with the X-Line, SX, and X Pro trims. 8-way power adjustable front seat coming with the Prestige trim levels. Ventilated front seats then coming with the X Pro Prestige. As far as seat comfort goes, honestly, it was amazing. And part of the reason is because of their super comfy headrests, like I was mentioning to you guys. So definitely no issues with the seat comfort, even with our bottom trim level, even with the cloth seating. So wonderful seat comfort, I gotta say. Then take a look at the steering wheel. It is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped for the EX trim level and up, and heated for the EX trim level and up. You typically don't find a heated steering wheel on one of the bottom trim levels, so well done Kia yet again, beating out the other manufacturers on that for sure. Then make your way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key here. In typical Kia fashion, you have all of your buttons located on the side of the key. Lock, of course, being that giant button towards the top. You got unlock and that button to unlock the rear hatch as well. But essentially, it is all keyless entry with a push button start if you go with the EX trim level and up. Otherwise, it is going to be a traditional key start. So all I'm going to do here, simply put my foot on the brake and turn the key. And this is one of the best parts now of the new Sportage 12.2-inch digital cage cluster, coming standard for every single trim level across the board, even our bottom trim level that we have here today. What's even cooler, why I like digital gauges, is because they're pretty customizable. For example, when you change the drive mode, it's going to adjust the color of the gauges up there, which I think is super cool. You can't get that with traditional analog gauges that you typically get on bottom trim levels. So well done, Kia. You absolutely crushed it there. Also, of course, you have all your basic information: outside temperature, how many miles you have left until you hit empty, basically everything else you would expect to find on a digital gauge cluster. Then make our way to overall interior quality: panoramic sunroof for the EX trim level and up, overhead sunglass holder, LED interior lighting for the EX trim level and up. And that EX trim level and up is really where you kind of want to be at, to be quite honest, because wireless phone charger, dual zone climate control, all that is with the EX trim level and up. You will get alloy foot pedals if you were to go with those X Pro trim levels. Dual cup holders, of course, found in the middle there, and there's a little bit of added storage just behind those cup holders, which I kind of thought was pretty cool, and a decent amount of space within the center armrest. So as far as overall interior quality goes, it's finished like I would expect it to be. So personally, I didn't have any issues. But then taking a look at the infotainment screen now, 8-inch color touchscreen display coming with the LX trim level only. So that's what we got here. But again, if you were to go with the EX trim level and up, you will get a 12.3-inch color touchscreen display. Either way, you still get Bluetooth and audio streaming. You still get Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Factory navigation system coming with the SX trim level and up. There's also a quiet mode, which shuts off the rear speakers and limits the front speakers, so that if you have children sleeping in the back, they're less likely to wake up. I always find that feature pretty cool. There's a voice recorder as well on the infotainment screen, so if you didn't want to forget something, just record your voice and then you can play it back at a later date. Of course, you have your radio information up there as well. And so, by the way, when it comes to the sound systems, 6 speakers for the LX, EX, and X line, and then for the SX trim level and up, you will get an 8-speaker Harman Kardon sound system with 400 watts. But it's not the one we have today, unfortunately, since we have the LX trim. So having said that, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next. Let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. Hello, it was okay. A decent amount of bass, but we were listening to FM radio. I didn't see any Sirius XM, unfortunately, so couldn't get a full glimpse of the clarity, I guess you could say, because it isn't all that clear on regular radio anyways. But I will say the bass was plenty fine. But the last thing I want to mention to you guys on the infotainment screen is when you do put the Sportage in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board, letting you know who or what is behind you, which is always going to lead us into safety. And so let me start with IIHS top safety pick for the 2022 model year. So the 2023 has not yet been tested at the time of this video, so keep an eye out for that. I would imagine it would be at least that or better. Typically vehicles get better over time, but hasn't yet been tested. But front side current airbags do come standard. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard, here's the fun safety, so to speak: forward collision warning with car, pedestrian, and cyclist detection, lane following assist, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, driver attention warning with leading vehicle departure alert, rear parking sensors then as well. Every trim is going to get that stuff. That's pretty cool. Then if you were to go with the EX trim level and up, as always, you will get a blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert then as well. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts, I really like this one, if I'm being honest. Love the unique redesign. You guys know I love different. This looks like nothing else on the road right now, so that is amazing in my personal opinion. Insanely comfortable headrests. Like I said, some of the most comfortable headrests I've experienced outside of the pillows that you typically find in Mercedes or Maybach. Full digital gauges coming standard is absolutely wonderful as well. I think the only other vehicle that puts a standard on all trim levels that I can think of is the Volkswagen Taos, but that's really all I can think of, So that's excellent that Kia does that. You also get America's best warranty, being 5 years, 60,000 mile bumper to bumper, 10 years, 100,000 miles on the powertrain. So you cannot beat that here in the US at least. And of course, it's much larger than the previous generation as well. So a lot more bang for the buck with this one as opposed to the 2022. So I really can't find a whole lot of room for improvement on this thing other than, I mean, interior quality could be a little bit better, less hard plastics, but then of course they would have to raise the price, and I like where the price point's at as well. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of the Sportage in the comment section below. And so, but that is about it for this 2023 Honda CR-V, courtesy of Apple Honda in York, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. So this is officially the 6th generation of the Honda CR-V, and it has been completely redesigned for the 2023 model year. And quite honestly, I think it looks dang good. It didn't look bad before, but it looks really, really good now. I will say that. So ultimately in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing it. So as you can imagine, there are a few different trim levels for the 2023 CR-V. First one being EX, starting at $31,110, Sport Hybrid for $32,450, EXL for $33,760, and then the Sport Touring Hybrid for $38,600. And I will say for the last trim level, all-wheel drive does come standard, but for the other trim levels, front-wheel drive is standard, but you can get all-wheel drive by simply adding $1,500 then to any of those prices. But so then, as you can imagine, with all of those trim levels, there are a couple different engine configurations available for the CR-V. First one being the one that we have today, which is a 1.5 liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder. This particular engine configuration belongs to the EX trim level and the EXL. We do have the EXL with us here today. Power output comes in at 190 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, 179 pound-feet of torque coming in at 1,700 RPM. Power sent to front wheels or all wheels through a CVT. MPG numbers then coming in at 28 in the city, 34 on the highway for the front wheel drive, 27 city, 32 then on the highway for the all-wheel drive, taking regular unleaded fuel. But so then you have the other power plant belonging to the hybrid configurations. That one is a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder with 2 electric motors. That one comes in at a combined 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque, sent to front wheels or all wheels yet again through a CVT. 0 to 60 time for that one, approximately 7.6 seconds, with MPG numbers coming in at 43 in the city, 36 on the highway for the front wheel drive. That is dang impressive. And then 40 in the city, 34 then on the highway for the all-wheel drive, taking regular unleaded fuel yet again. But before we do any kind of fun acceleration test here in our CR-V, I wanted to mention to you guys the drive modes. There's a little toggle switch located just to the left of the shifter, and that will give you different drive modes, including Econ, Normal, and Snow, and actually Sport as well if you were to go with the hybrid trim level. That's the only trim that's going to give you that Sport driving mode, but nonetheless adjusting things like the shift points, the throttle response, and the steering sensitivity. And quite honestly, we are in normal driving mode right now, and I can tell you guys the steering sensitivity is wonderful. We'll get more into that a little bit later in the video, but first thing I noticed, I love it. But so anyways, now I've got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find a straightaway. Let's put this acceleration here to the test, and let's see how quickly we can get our new 2023 Honda CR-V here up to speed. All right, this literally looks like the perfect spot. In 3, 2, 1, go baby. Little bit of turbo lag. There it is. Once you get up on the upper RPMs, it really goes. So not gonna have any issues merging onto the highway, but like I said at the very beginning of that acceleration, as you quite often find in turbocharged 4-cylinders, there's a little bit of turbo lag, but as long as you're up higher in the RPMs, that really is not gonna be a problem. So you're not gonna have any issues in merging onto the highway. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. So up front, you will find 12.3-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 12.2-inch solid rear discs. As far as that 60-0 stopping distance goes, it's going to come in at 123 feet, which is perfectly fine. That's a pretty average number for the segment. As far as braking feel goes, since there's nobody behind us, it's great. Honestly, I love it. It's definitely on the firmer side of things, so the braking feel feels perfect on this CR-V. I will say that. A lot of SUVs will give you looser kind of braking feels where you have to press down on the pedal a little bit harder to get it to stop, but it's not the case. I love the braking feel here in the CR-V. Then touching on suspension and handling, up front you're going to get a McPherson strut front suspension. In the back, multi-link double wishbone type rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars. As far as ride quality goes, it's been great. It's been perfectly fine on my short test drive here today, so I definitely am not having any issues with the ride quality, believe it or not. Steering feel is brilliant. It's like Mazda-like, you guys. I absolutely love this steering feel on the Honda CR-V. It's weighted on the heavier side of things, instantly points you in the direction that you want to go. And the reason I'm emphasizing this so much is because a lot of times in SUVs you find looser steering feels with not a whole lot of emotion, but Honda's kind of MO is really to be a driver's car, kind of like Mazda, I guess. I kind of put them in the same category, and that's definitely the case here in the CR-V. You wouldn't expect it, because this is just, it's kind of like a family vehicle that you haul your kids in to get them to school and stuff, but the steering feel is quite brilliant. Like I said, heavier side of things, 100% on point. But then touching on cabin noise, I am going 36 miles per hour right now, and so far it's been perfectly fine, so definitely no issues there for me. Then touching on visibility, 100% on point yet again. The rear headrests don't take up all that much room, and I can see perfectly fine out that back window, so no issues there. And rain sensing windshield wipers are going to come on the Sport Touring Hybrid trim level, so that's essentially going to assist with forward visibility. Whenever the CR-V detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on those windshield wipers for you, so it's a big old convenience feature, kind of like automatic headlights, so that's a big win there as well. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, you guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new 2023 Honda CR-V. All right, here she is, you guys, the new 2023 Honda CR-V, finished in lunar silver metallic, in case you were curious. It looks pretty dang good this morning, actually. A very nice morning here in Pennsylvania, but again, completely new look for 2023 CR-V. Definitely looks very much better than the previous generation. Not that that was a bad looking generation, but this looks just amazing. Very more masculine, I guess you could say. So anyways, first thing I want to mention before we get started up front here is the VIN does start with the 2, meaning this one is built in Canada. Always like to mention that for you guys now, but let's go ahead and start up front. Unique front fascia for the Sport Hybrid trim level, so it's going to look a little bit different than the current look that you guys are looking at right now, so I wanted to mention that. A little more aggressive, I'll put it that way. LED headlights to the sides do come standard for every single trim level across the board, so you gotta love that. Added illumination at night, at least comparatively speaking to the good old halogens. LED daytime running lights also coming standard. You do get the automatic feature, meaning when it starts to get dark at night, headlights will turn on automatically for you there, but you also get automatic high beams for every single trim level across the board. Meaning if you have your high beams on at night and it senses a vehicle coming in the opposite direction, it's going to automatically dim them back to low beams. Then when that vehicle is gone, it's going to automatically bounce it back up to high beams then. Another thing I just noticed, it has dark housings around the headlights. A lot of times you'll find clear housing. So I do like the dark housing look because we do have a lot of black accents around this thing, including just matte black on the front lip there. So do like the look of that. And you do have active grille shutters up front as well. So they're going to open and close dependent upon the engine cooling that is needed at any given time. And you do have some front air curtains down to the corners there, helping direct air around the wheel and tire combination. So again, completely new look up front. I am personally a big fan of it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. But that pretty much rounds out the front end of this one. So now go ahead and make our way to the side. All right, so starting up top here, gloss black roof rails will come standard on the Sport trim. So therefore, we do not have those with us here today, but chrome window surrounds will also come standard. Taking a look at the side mirrors then, body color power adjustable side mirrors do come standard. Unless you go with the Sport Hybrid trims, then you're actually going to get gloss black finish to those side mirrors. So I do want to emphasize that. Heated side mirrors do come standard as well with LED integrated turn signals then as well. So that's pretty cool. Then take a look down at the wheel setup. 18-inch silver painted alloys for the EX trims. That's what you guys, of course, are looking at right now. 18-inch gloss black alloys then for the Sport Hybrid, and then 19-inch gloss black alloys for the Sport Touring Hybrid. So pretty big differentiation there amongst the trim levels when it comes to the wheel setup. And you got the matte black fender surrounds and side skirts as well. But again, that pretty much rounds out the side profile here. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the back of the CR-V. All right, so now since you are around to the back of this one, all the way to the top, you will find a body-colored shark fin antenna. Just below that, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light. Just below that, rear window wiper. Got some redesigned taillights that look dang good. I love the new look to them. The kind of Volvo-esque kind of, actually, now that I think about it, kind of like a Volvo XC90 or something. But LED taillights, of course, so added illumination at night there. And then just below it all, you will find dual exhaust outlets across the board. You will get chrome tips available for the Sport trim levels. However, of course, we just have the EXL with us here today, so they are simply tucked away. But nonetheless, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next. Is always here is that exhaust clip. Alright, so but now since we are around to the back of the CRV, when it comes to opening that rear tailgate, it is a power tailgate for the EXL trim level that we have today. Then if you were to go with that Sport Touring, it actually is a hands-free power tailgate. So there's a couple different ways to go ahead and open it. There is a button on the key fob itself. There's a button on the tailgate itself. You simply just press that rubberized button. It's going to automatically open up for you. And then there's actually a button to close it as well. And there's a button by the driver's side left knee in the driver's seat as well. But cool thing is this tailgate is very, very adjustable. One of the higher opening tailgates, and I emphasize that because I'm 6 feet tall, and a lot of times I'll hit my head kind of, or I have to bend down to kind of get out of there, but this one opens up a good bit, so I absolutely love that. So for taller adults putting stuff in the cargo area, that's a big win. But once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 39.3 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, there's a 60-40 split, meaning the rear seats do fold down, bumping that up to 76.5 cubic feet. That is very impressive for its class. I just want to mention that cargo lighting can be found back there, but it's LED cargo lighting. It's not your typical halogen bulbs that you usually will find on the competition. Again, big fan of that as well. Tie-down anchors back there. There's grocery bag hooks. There's actually a 12-volt power outlet I found back there as well, which you don't always find in SUVs, so I like that. And then if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you're actually going to find a spare tire, which again, I'm a big fan of because the alternative is the fix-a-flat, which I'm not a big fan of. So I do like that, and there is some storage kind of around it. You could probably put an ice scraper underneath there as well. But then making our way up to the rear legroom, that is going to come in an extremely impressive 41 inches even. That's a ton of space, you guys, for the class. For reference, I'm even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I have back there. Typically, you get around 39 inches for the class. I'll put it that way. Rear center armrest with cup holders does come standard. I like that. Rear USB charging ports for the Sport Hybrid trim levels. So therefore, we don't have them today, unfortunately. There is rear ventilation, though, that does come standard back there. So I do like that. And honestly, one thing I think it was missing was would have been nice to see some rear window sunshades back there. I'm just saying. But anyways, then making our way up to the front seats. 10-way power adjustable front seats with 2-way power lumbar. This is one of the first things I noticed as well. Extremely comfortable seating in this thing. Yes, it has horizontal seams. The vertical seams would have been better, but still, very adjustable power lumbar, extremely adjustable power lumbar. And quite honestly, between the steering wheel and the seats, it was incredible comfort when it comes to the seat comfort. So anyways, I'm going to continue here. Heated front seats do come standard on all trim levels. Cloth seating for the EX and Sport Hybrid. Leather seating for the EXL and Sport Touring Hybrid trims. Power adjustable passenger seat for the EXL and Sport Touring again. And memory settings again for the EXL and Sport Touring for up to 2 different drivers found here on the driver's side door. So then take a look at the steering wheel. It is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped on all trim levels but the EX. Wanted to emphasize that. And it will be heated on that Sport Touring trim level as well. And the 10 and 2 grips are bolstered on the thicker side of things. Another reason I was a big fan of this steering wheel here. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key here. You got your nice Honda logo on the one side. Then when you flip it over, lock, unlock the button to pop the rear tailgate, and that circular button, that's going to be a remote start, which by the way comes standard on every single trim level across the board. So when it's a super cold day here in Pennsylvania, you simply just press that and it's going to automatically turn it on for you and warm up the vehicle before you get actually inside of it. So I'm a huge fan of that. And it is keyless entry with a push button start for all trim levels across the board. So in this case, all I'm going to do, simply just put my foot on the brake and press that black and red engine start button located just to the left of the air vents there. So once started up, gauges look good. Yet again, 7-inch digital gauge cluster kind of found on the left side of things, kind of an analog setup to the right, but it looks dang good. And when you change up your driving mode, it does a cool little kind of illustration of the drive mode that you switch it to. So I was a big fan of that as well. But tachometer is on your left, and it pretty much has everything you could possibly want on the digital portion of the gauge. It gives you your outside temperature, how many miles you have left until you hit empty, and all that can be controlled by simply using the steering wheel mounted controls then. So no issues there. But then taking a look at overall interior quality, a power moonroof actually comes standard on every single trim level across the board. That surprised me. You usually don't find that on the bottom trim, so big fan of that. LED interior lighting, all trim levels across the board. Dual zone climate control, all trim levels across the board, so both driver and passenger can set their own temperatures there. One thing about the dual zone climate control and the climate control buttons in general, it's kind of LED backlit. I think that's such a cool little thing they got going on there. So it's kind of like Mercedes-Benz puts ambient lighting around their climate control vents. Honda apparently is putting LED backlit lighting around their climate control buttons. So Usually you don't find that. I'm a big fan of that. Auto-dimming rear view mirror for the EXL and Touring trim levels, wireless phone charger for the EXL and Touring trim levels as well, and that's going to be located just in front of the shifter here. But in addition to that, you do have a USB charging port, regular phone charging port, 12-volt power outlet. You do have an electromechanical parking brake just to the left of the shifter. You do have dual cup holders just behind that. And within the center armrest, actually a decent amount of storage in there. Well done, Honda. So I do like the kind of texturized finishes that are found just below the air vents here up front and also found on all of the doors. I was a big fan of that. I'm always a fan of texturized finishes, so I'm a big fan of that. Also the door handles. I like the design to the door handles. I know it's small, but it looks kind of like Lexus's samurai sword door handles that they put in their vehicles, so I'm a big fan of that as well. Maybe it's because Honda is a Japanese company and they designed it that way. I don't know, but you do have an overhead sunglass holder that's going to come for all trim levels as well. And overall, I mean, it's kind of on the basic side. You do have some matte black plastic surrounding the shifter, also surrounding the window buttons on the doors, but honestly, it's perfectly fine for me. It gets the job done. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the infotainment screen, because there's going to be a couple of them. 7-inch color touchscreen display coming with the EX and the Sport hybrid trims, but you will get a 9-inch color touchscreen display for the EXL and the Touring. Either way, you get Bluetooth and audio streaming, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You will get factory navigation system for that Touring trim level. Of course, Honda has your cool little clock option where you can display a clock. I always like the looks of their clocks. They look kind of funky, but also you can check out your radio information, of course. And when it comes to the sound systems, there's several of them. 6 speakers and 240 watts is going to come with the EX and Sport hybrid. Then you're going to get an 8-speaker sound system with 320 watts for the EXL that we have today, and then a 12-speaker Bose sound system for that Sport Touring. So having said that, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing this morning, and let's test out the clarity of this one. That's 100% perfectly fine for me. There's a ton of bass with that 8-speaker sound system we have in the EXL here. So I would say for the EXL and the Sport Touring, you're definitely going to be perfectly fine. I don't know how the other sound system is going to sound, but plenty of clarity. Again, ton of bass for that 8-speaker sound system that we have with us here today. But last thing I want to mention to you guys on the infotainment screen is when you do put the CR-V in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board with a few different views as well. So that's kind of cool, but not the most high definition rear view camera I've ever seen, but it'll definitely get the job done. And as always, that is going to lead us into safety. And so to start, let me first start by mentioning the 2022 CR-V is an IIHS top safety pick. It hasn't been rated by IIHS quite yet for 2023, but typically the way it works is vehicles either get better or they stay the same. So I wouldn't imagine it would no longer be an IIHS top safety pick. So I'll just put it that way. Front side curtain airbags do come standard, driver and passenger knee airbags as well. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard, a collision mitigation braking system, road departure mitigation system, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, forward collision warning, lane departure warning, traffic jam assist, traffic sign recognition, and a blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert as well. And a lot of times that's a feature you find on upper trim levels of other manufacturers, but it comes standard across the board here in the CR-V. So I'm a big fan of that. And if you were to go with the EXL or Sport Touring, you're also going to get front and rear parking sensors as well. So that's pretty cool. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts here of the CR-V, I do love the redesign. I think this thing looks dang good. Not that it didn't look good before, but it really looks good now. Bose sound system availability is going to be incredible, but the sound system in the EXL is plenty fine for me as well. So honestly, it's a really good sound system here. Tons of space for its class. 76 point whatever cubic feet is a good bit of space for its particular class. And that's something Honda has always kind of beat the competition with, is the cargo space for the segment. So big fan of that. I will say great MPGs on the hybrid as well. And steering feel, 100% on point here in the CR-V. So big fan of the steering feel in this thing. Really the only constructive criticism that I personally would think of that would be going through my mind, and it really isn't constructive criticism as much as it is just the unknown, which is the reliability. There's no longer a naturally aspirated engine option for the CR-V. You either have the hybrid configuration with 2 electric motors, or you have the turbocharged 4-cylinder that we have today, both of which traditionally are not as reliable as a traditional naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. I know why Honda did it, because they're looking for better fuel economy. I get that, but at the same time, Honda and Toyota traditionally for me has been known for reliability, and it makes me wonder what the reliability of the new CR-V is going to be. I guess time will tell. Let me know what you guys think of the CR-V in the comments section below, and that is